Welcome to another episode of German 365. We're on episode 12 today, talking about Wortarten or word types. When I teach grammar, I use a lot of terminologies such as verbs, prepositions, conjugation, and so forth. And if you have no idea what I'm actually talking about, it's really hard to follow. So this is a pretty basic introduction to grammatical terminology that I'm using throughout my episodes. And I hope it will help you not only in your study of German, but maybe even with your native language. So let's look at the terms that I deemed as most important for the study of German. The first term is verbs, or die Verben in German. Here are a couple examples. For example, schreiben, laufen, or freuen. Schreiben, to write, laufen, to run, and freuen, to be happy. So in English we have the to infinitive. In German they simply look like one word. But we can say a little bit more about them, and that is that they can be conjugated, so they will change their endings. They can be regular or irregular, so sometimes you have to learn forms. And they, in the end, tell us the action within a clause. So they will talk about what is happening actually, running, laughing, writing. So the verb will give us that. Also, they're not capitalized in German, so they're not spelled with a tall, big letter. And they have an en ending. Next up are adjectives, or die Adjektive in German. Examples are groß, klein, and gut. Big, small, and good. Again, they're not capitalized unless they're in the beginning of a sentence, and they have no inflected endings in their base form. They can, however, have an ending, like in kleines or großer, and we'll talk about that in another episode. An adjective really just does one thing, and it tells us a little bit more about an item, like a noun usually. In German, we call them a Wie-Wort, so a how word. How is something. Now let's think about what is an article. Der Artikel, or die Artikel in plural. An article is a part of a noun, and they show us the gender, the number, and the case of a noun. So whether it's feminine, masculine, neuter, singular, plural, accusative, dative, nominative, genitive. We have definite articles, which is like the or the article, and indefinite, the a, or a apple instead of the apple. So we have the der and ein, masculine singular, die and eine, feminine singular, das und ein, the neuter, and the die plural article. There's no indefinite plural article because you can't have a apples. Here are a couple more examples just to show us gender in the articles, in the definite articles. Der Mann, the man, die Frau, the woman, das Kind, the child, and der Hund, the dog. And just to clarify, all of these are in the nominative case, so the base form, so to speak. So when you look up a word, you'll be given this form, the der, die, das, and the plural die articles. They will change as you use them in a different case, but that's a matter of another episode. Brings us right to the nouns, or die Nomen, which are a part of the article. Oh, the article is a part of a noun. So we see what follows the article is the actual noun. So a noun in the nominative singular is always capitalized, or a noun in general is always capitalized, and there's no inflected ending. There will be inflected endings with other cases. It's usually accompanied by an article, but the article can be left off as well. And a noun can be the subject of a sentence. That is when it's in the nominative case. Then we're asking who or what is performing an action. In another case, it can be the direct object of an action, or it can be the indirect object, the receiver of an action. So I have a couple examples here. So the noun in the nominative would be der Mann hat. Der Mann hat einen Knochen. Der Mann gibt dem Hund einen Knochen. So der Mann is always the subject, while the other nouns, when we see them, take in other elements in the sentence. So to summarize that, der Mann hat, the man has. I mean, there's something missing, right? What does he have? So the next element, the direct object, the thing he has, a bone, einen Knochen, is in the accusative. And then in the last sentence, we change the verb to geben, to give, gibt, vowel changer. So der Mann gibt dem Hund einen Knochen. Dem Hund is the receiver of the bone. The dog receives the bone, so he is in the dative. I know this is a little fast, and I will cover this in more thoroughly in another episode, but understand that nouns can be different elements within a sentence. That's the takeaway here. Brings us to pronoun, or die Pronomen in German. Pronoun stands in place for a noun. So instead of the actual word, der Hund or der Mann, we have a smaller word that replaces that. And first, you want to learn the nominative case pronouns. They're very important because we use them to conjugate a verb, which I'm also discussing in a separate episode. And you want to really memorize the chart, which I'll show in a second. Beware that they are not capitalized unless they start a sentence. Again, in German, only nouns are capitalized. So here is the chart that I was just talking about. We have the ich, du, sie, es, wir, ihr, and sie. Those are our nominative case pronouns that we need to memorize. Last but not least, we have prepositions or die Präpositionen. For example, in der Schule, am Meer, vor dem Haus, unter dem Tisch. So we see that prepositions position things or elements in a sentence. They give us a locational idea of where they are or where something is. And also they are never capitalized unless they're in the beginning of a sentence. And they don't really change their form itself, but they can change the noun that it follows it. So the article might change. And there are some contractions, as we have seen in am, an dem Meer. There are a couple other contractions, but they're not really changing the form of the preposition. Also, prepositions go hand in hand with case. So once you're a little more advanced, make sure that you really know the prepositions because they're super helpful. So I really hope this helped you out a little bit. If you have a textbook or if you're using other resources, I'm sure that those terms will come up in those as well. Please post any questions that you have or any comments. Like my video and subscribe to my channel. Keep on studying, and I see you in my next episode. Thanks.